Hello, and welcome to the Sidescape Gaming Podcast, episode 30. I'm your host, Jake Burke, joined always by James St. Charles down at the bottom. And joining us is the new addition to the podcast, Ted Libby. Ted, tell the folks, just give me I'm going to do a little pop quiz here. What's your favorite game of all time?
Pop quiz?
Pop quiz.
Jesus. I got to get my sheets out. I got notes for this. Right now?
Yeah. Right now.
Valorant. Right now, Valorant's my favorite. Yeah.
Damn, that was a big eclipse.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Well, you're going to be kind of the third chair.
Listen, I'm hip with the kids. Okay.
That's what I definitely think. When I think of you, I think of a hip with children.
I thought he was going to say Fortnite.
Yep. Ted's a big Fortnite guy. He does a lot of floss dances.
Yep.
They're big.
Well, that's
Always
true, but unrelated.
This is so unrelated to gaming news, but everyone knows who Kevin Smith is, right?
Yep.
Like writer-director?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
He's doing some horrible TV show right now on some channel that he's filming all from his house with his daughter and her boyfriend. And it is the worst written garbage I've ever watched. And it is all these millennial jokes that I'm hip. And he's like, what's he doing? He's like, the Fortnite dance, guys. That's what he's doing. I was like, oh my God.
Oh, that sounds rough.
It was rough.
That sounds awful.
But you know what isn't rough? The Sidescape Gaming Podcast, episode 30, where every Monday morning a new episode goes live on youtube.com, SoundCloud, and Spotify. Once a week, we sit down and Skype across 500 miles, except for James and Ted, who are probably about 23 miles away from each other, and talk about a gaming-related topic and what games we are playing. This week's topic is the next generation of console wars. I think we had a cool topic here, because I don't really think there's going to be a console war anymore. If you like the show, remember to subscribe. Nice. And every Friday, tune into the Sidescape Gaming Report, where James and I break down the week's biggest games news stories, which we haven't done in a while, but we will get back to it.
More news.
This week's topic, I'll set the stage. Xbox just did their Xbox July showcase. Sony did their showcase in June, I want to say, and kind of revealed their PlayStation 5 launch titles and everything coming kind of the first year. Xbox did a similar thing, but with an entirely different tactic. They unleashed 12, I think, games? 15 games in this thing. So 22 games. There was 15 first parties. 22 games in the Xbox July showcase. All of them are launching on Game Pass. All of them are free if you pay your Netflix subscription, basically.
Free if you pay.
Yeah, right. If you pay. Totally. But
hey, you give them money, but guess what? It's free.
Right. But all of these games, right? So not just these big budget
it's not
titles.
like you're paying MSRP.
Yeah.
Basically free.
That seems to be their strategy here in the next generation of X. And xCloud is coming, their streaming platform where they are live streaming games. Mm-hmm. And then they have their box you can buy. Ted, I think
rest in peace Mixer, right? Because they got no more Mixer.
Mixer is on Facebook, which is crazy.
R.I.P.
So with this, we all watched the showcase. What did we all think of the showcase? And then how excited are we for Xbox? What are our thoughts of kind of what the Xbox brand is doing? Because I think that's the biggest thing here to talk about. Ted, would you like to go first as the newest person here?
It was pretty mild, you know? It was not spicy. Mm-hmm. It was very mundane and just kind of showing off things that you'll get if you're paying for a service. It was interesting. It was not groundbreaking or explosive. I don't know.
Yeah, I was watching it with some friends, and starting out, it was like Halo right off the bat. I was like, oh, hell yeah, Xbox coming in strong. And then you watch the gameplay, you're like,
all right,
this is new? Yeah. This is like new age stuff? And I was like, okay, they had some grappling, I guess. That's kind of cool.
That's how I felt.
You saw the graphics, and you're like, this is next gen. This is what they're bringing to the table.
It's not next gen because it's also an Xbox One game, and all of these games are for
Xbox.
Apparently Xbox One games. I think a few of them may not be, but really they're Xbox One and Xbox X games.
I mean, having played more PS4 games recently, it just looked like a regular Halo game. There was nothing cutting. They needed something cutting edge. They needed something brand new to the Halo franchise to stay competitive. I feel as I'm gonna go buy Xbox Series X instead of a PlayStation 5.
And that's
nope.
That's
none
the
of the
thing.
games. Definitely.
Looking at the two conferences, I guess, the two E3 showcases that we basically just had a month apart. Xbox was really okay, this is Xbox. We got a bunch of game studios we've bought. Everyone's been talking about that game Avowed, which was the Obsidian new RPG that they announced.
Yes.
And I was like, that looks fine, but it's more it looks just like Skyrim. They did that. I was like,
Skyrim.
That's pretty Skyrim. And everyone's like, that's the game I'm so excited for Avowed. And I'm like, I mean, sure, it looks fine. But I think that's the weird thing is they weren't even trying to sell you on the console. That's like
No, it was like I'm just watching the game releases here.
Yeah.
Then like almost no mention of the console except like, oh, this will run at this and on the console. Actually, barely even of that.
They barely
like
mentioned
most of the games
Series
didn't
X.
say like, hey, this is gonna run on 8K or whatever, 120 frames per second. Nope, none of that.
That's like in the Sony conference that we watched. It was you were playing all of these games first on PS5, not PS4 and PS5. PS5. Spider-Man Miles Morales is just a PS5 game.
Yeah.
You know,
And then you had the aesthetic kind of like transitions with the console. It
yeah.
was like I don't know. It was like a
well,
just smooth.
And that's the thing.
Whereas, yeah, go ahead.
I just think that's the thing that's interesting about Sony and Xbox as a brand right now is you have that Sony PlayStation like hype montage of like the generations of characters.
I love,
and it was like I was like, this is getting me so horny. Like this is amazing. And then like, and then I watched like the Xbox one, and they didn't even do that because if they did it, it would just be Gears of War and Master Chief, and like maybe
they kind of did it, but it was just like Gears, Halo, stuff like that.
And it's like they just don't have those like pops, and that's I think.
But yeah, the PlayStation covers had like these interesting like transitions where it like showed the console and like really good 3D rendering, and Xbox just does world premiere.
Yeah,
that's it. Like that's like their standard thing. Like world, it's just, and it's like, oh yeah, I guess it is a world premiere, but it's nothing that the world needs to know.
Right. Yeah.
It's just like okay, this is cool, I guess. State of Decay 3, yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that.
But I do think the big thing of it is Game Pass. All of these games, even if you have just your PC right now, hypothetically, even though depending on the specs, it runs it. It's going to be able to play these games.
But Jake, it's like I have a PC, so I'm not going to buy an Xbox Series X if I have a PC and I can play all these games on Game Pass. And
right, but
they're not selling me on the console.
That's the thing. They're not selling you on the console. They're selling you on Game Pass.
But they should.
All of these games are, it's on Game Pass. I'll check it out. You know, it's free. PS5, Sony, I should say, is hyping you up to spend $60 multiple times, maybe even $70. We don't know. That's a problem. But
that's a weird thing too, is that two different third-party publishers have two different prices for next year. So EA is saying, or is it 2K? 2K is going to be
2K is
70.
Saying,
and Ubisoft just said right now we're 60. Like all of our games on launching there are 60. I'm like, that's.
I wonder how that's going to affect them. If like just that $10 difference is someone's gonna be like, yeah, you know, I'm not gonna.
They'll course correct before it actually goes to market.
I don't know. I think video games need to get more expensive, in my opinion.
I kind of agree. But that's the thing is Sony is trying to hype you up to spend $60 and then $60.
Right.
Xbox is just trying to get you to passively pay $15 a month and to just meander through their store every once in a while. And Avowed looks kind of cool. I'll play it tonight.
And that's I wonder how like in this I'm sure there's a way to look it up, but I just haven't. The numbers for Game Pass, because if it's like a few million, I mean that's like 45 million a month, right? If it's $15 each or whatever it is, depending on your SKU. So you're making hand over fist without even releasing a ton of these third-party titles. And
exactly.
Making some deals with third party.
I got you. As of April 30th, 2020, Xbox Game Pass has about 10 million members.
Oh fuck! They don't care about a console.
Yep.
And that's
I mean, you got the Microsoft market, so that's what I think they're trying to hit.
And I think that's the weird thing for me about Xbox right now, because I mean I was a 360 guy before a PlayStation 3. I never owned a PS2. I had an original Xbox. So I've definitely been in the heat of the transitions. But Xbox One just didn't speak to me when they were like, plug in your TV to the console, and
it didn't speak to a lot of people.
No, that's the problem. And I think they kind of realized, well, shit, we shat the bed on consoles. We now have the most confusing console naming brand as well. We have an Xbox One Series S, Series X, or Xbox One S,
One X.
Xbox One X, Xbox Series X, and then we're probably gonna get an Xbox Series S, which is supposed to be an Xbox box. So I think they've kind of moved away from the console, but also like, why are we making another console? I don't know. It just seems very weird.
Yeah,
I mean, I think for them to not make a console would be weird too, because like they still have a good, strong console gamer base. And
right now,
we're dedicated to Xbox. So.
Yeah, PS5 comes out and there's no Xbox Series X. It's Microsoft loses the console wars. They're getting out of the business versus a couple of years from now when everyone's playing everything on the cloud on their phones anyway, and who needs these boxes anymore? So they're just doing this to save face.
I do think that that's pretty accurate. I'm just curious at what point Xbox becomes an app like Netflix. Like at what point does my Roku TV have an Xbox app?
Yeah,
probably.
At one point, does the Game Pass just be like cloud service, like what you're talking about, Ted? Like just totally cloud.
There,
And that's apparently what this xCloud thing is.
Yeah, that is what they're shooting for. Is they're probably trying to get away from the box, just like most other people are trying to get away from a box.
Yeah.
You know, if I can play all Xbox games on a phone and a Bluetooth controller, I'm good, right?
Mm-hmm.
In theory.
Yeah.
Or like any screen, anything that has like internet connectivity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then you got PlayStation on the other hand. That's like, we've just mastered the game. We're gonna keep playing it the same way we've been playing it and not change it up at all.
Basically, yeah.
And eventually, I'm sure it's gonna bite them in the ass.
Might work really well this fall. It might work terribly for them in 5 years. Who knows?
Yeah. Right.
Are any of you getting an Xbox, by the way? Xbox Series? I know you were talking about getting both, Jake. I just wonder if your like opinions changed.
So I don't feel compelled to get this box now. Like, I was like very excited about it when it was first announced. Like, when Ted was talking, he was like, "When's the release date for it?" I was like, "I don't know. I don't like it's coming."
Yeah.
Yeah. And we don't know when it is. But like, it's not.
That still holds true today.
But I'm definitely like I'm probably still going to buy one because my PC is not the strongest in the world. So like Halo might chug, and like stuff like that where it's like I'd rather just have the ease of like it's gonna work, rather than like I gotta look at the specs and my graphics card's a TX 3000 megahertz.
Why don't you just upgrade it?
I got a lot going on, James. I got a lot going on. Also,
just ask Gutter. He'll do it for free.
I know nothing about computers. So I'm on the fence about it. I mean, because my income's a little more expendable, I'm probably going to. But I would rather not. But I don't know.
Yeah,
it's just a weird thing. Now, I want to move on to just talking about some of the games first, and then I've got some follow-up questions. Okay, so they showed off Halo Infinite. They showed it off for a long time. It was like 14 minutes or something. Gameplay.
Halo Infinite free multiplayer for everyone?
So Halo Infinite has announced that it is free multiplayer free to play, and it will run natively at 120 frames per second on the Series X, which is crazy.
Yeah.
You think they're going to have microtransactions?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nowadays.
I was like, free multiplayer.
But what I think is interesting.
Free multiplayer for everyone sounds great because Halo is a national pastime at this point. But it's also, it gets everyone a Game Pass account. It gets everyone an Xbox Live account to where suddenly you're like, oh, Game Pass is $15 a month and I already have my username. I just type it in here and we're good to go. They're just bringing people into the ecosystem.
Exactly. And I think that something that I've loved that we were doing for a while is like Sunday morning Halo mornings. And I miss like the, and we're getting that with Valorant a little bit of like, hey, let's all like play a game right now.
Yeah.
And I think if Halo's free to play and I can talk to any of my friends and being like, jump on Halo. Like, and Halo is such that middle school, high school pastime of like, we all just came over and played Halo. And that's what they're trying to do again, but it's free. There's no barrier to entry, especially if you're on PC. That's crazy to me. Like, that's awesome. I'm sure it's going to be microtransaction and loot box heavy or whatever, but we'll see.
Skins or whatever,
Well, but also, you guys were saying Halo Infinite, it didn't look great on the video that they showed.
It wasn't,
and I think that's kind of the point. They're trying to make a Halo for everyone that'll run on anything.
Hence the name.
Yeah. That's probably their plan.
They've talked that this is the Halo game for the next 5-10 years. Like, they don't intend to do a Halo Infinite 2.
Yeah.
Like, this is it for a while.
No, they're trying to just make the end all be all. This will run on anything. This is for everyone, And
that's the thing I wanted to bring up is it also seemed like Forza was going to be that. They said Forza Motorsport. They did not put a number on it when they said it was in development. I could see that also being what we've talked about sports games being in the past of like, why isn't it just Madden NFL and then $30 packages every year or $60 packages every year that upgrade everything? I think they're going to try to test that model out with their two franchises. Can
you imagine a world where just video games are free? Just anyone,
Yeah.
Just they got rid of the price point.
That'd be interesting.
That's mind blowing.
Yeah. So I'm curious to see how Halo Infinite feels. What they've said split screen is back, local. I mean, that's the thing that's really bummed me out about the Master Chief Collection is I can't play split screen with my friends. So that is coming back, and I think that's exciting. Well, I can't play it on PC. I think you can on Xbox. They announced or they showed off again Everwild, which is the Rare game from Rare Studios that it's been showed off like 4 or 5 times.
Oh yeah.
And they've never said what this game actually is. It's always just these CG trailers of the same stuff happening in like the wilderness. So weird. State of Decay 3, as we mentioned, there's a deer that also is a zombie deer. State of Decay.
Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Does anyone
zombie meat?
Does anyone like those games? Does anyone play those games?
I bet you all like them when I get around to it.
Nope.
But it's one of those things where I've never just felt the need to check it out.
I find it boring. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, I love managing systems, and that sounds like what State of Decay is turning into.
It's a lot of it.
It's like, but just
They showed off Avowed. We already talked about it. The Outer Wilds DLC. So I thought the Obsidian entry thing was very cool. They showed off 3 different titles basically. So it was like, okay, this studio is pumping.
Obsidian's strong.
Yeah,
they're chugging
that's
along.
the best pull Microsoft could do. They showed off Psychonauts 2, which again got delayed. It's now 2021.
Oh, Tenacious D's new album.
Yeah, and Jack Black sang the
Jack
theme
Black.
song. It was a weird trailer though.
Yeah, it was, but that'll be a fun game,
I want to play the first one. I wish that was on PC Game Pass.
I'm surprised that's not getting remastered or anything.
Why isn't that on Game Pass?
It's on Xbox Game Pass. It's just not on PC Game Pass. And I hate that there's that cross too.
Yeah,
Like,
they need to
The
get rid of that.
Xbox versus PC. Yeah,
Because I really want to play the Rare Replay and play like Banjo-Kazooie and Tooie, and you have to buy it on Microsoft Store, and I could play it on PC, but it's not free on Game Pass. And I'm like, that's ridiculous. It's really backwards. They showed off The Medium, which was that like dual timeline game. That was the only game I think looked really next gen, where it's like running in 2 different sections. It reminded that Titanfall 2 level where you're bouncing back and forth between time.
Yes,
but at the same time, which looks really cool. Very spooky. Crossfire X, which is apparently that big Chinese shooter that ever.
Crossfire is a huge shooter in Asia.
It looks horrible.
It's like Counter-Strike of Asia. Oh yeah, Crossfire is awful, but they love that game.
And then
it's old, I believe.
Yeah,
right?
it's very old.
Well,
this is a revamp of it.
It's a revamp,
basically.
and then Remedy, the guys who did Control, are making the campaign for this.
Ooh,
Which could be good.
I'll
but,
just play the campaign.
It's so weird. And then Forza Motorsport we talked about, and then they showed off at the very end the game that we all knew they were making. They're remaking Fable. So
I love Fable.
It's like I'm excited, but we'll wait.
Yeah.
They didn't show much to it, and that's I think a big thing.
Another title.
Xbox didn't show a lot of stuff. Like it was just like splash screens. And then I want to talk about it really quick. They did my Hellblade wrong. The Hellblade 2, which we announced at the Game Awards with a super cool trailer like 2 years ago or whatever. Or it was last year. And then they showed
felt like 2 years ago.
I know. Then they showed Hellblade 2, and it was like, oh cool, we're gonna find out new information. It was just like a image drop on Iceland, and he goes, the game setting is Iceland. And that was it.
Yeah.
I was like, that's all we got.
Jesus.
That's all we got. Spider-Man Miles Morales is coming out in fall. Like, what the heck?
Well, for $60 retail price, Hellblade 2 is just going to show up on Game Pass one day, and you'll go, I got some time, might as well check it out.
That's true.
Yeah.
But
I don't even have to download it anymore with xCloud.
I know that is crazy. So my big questions were, how are we feeling, Ted? Do you still want to get an Xbox One or an Xbox Series X? They're all the same.
Still want to get Xbox One though?
Yeah. Just get an Xbox One too. Cheap.
I do. Yeah, I also want a PlayStation 5. But I really like Game Pass. I really appreciate this culture they're building of just like all you need is Game Pass, $15 a month, and our whole inventory is here for you and all of your friends.
Yeah.
And I like the idea of just being able to sit down and play Halo on the couch, or come in here and play Halo in my room, and it's just being all one concise system.
Yeah.
I'm hesitant about the launch. We still don't have a price, and it comes out in 2 to 3 months.
Neither of them have done it. They're waiting for the other person to do it.
Yeah. Also, Xbox has a history of bad menus on launch and just kind of a bad OS underneath, and I don't want to deal with that.
I didn't realize they completely revamped their interface like multiple times during the Xbox One generation.
I mean, they did on the 360. If you guys remember the blades. But Xbox One has been revamped 2 or 3 times, and it's not gotten better apparently.
Yeah. James, are you interested in buying a Series X at all? I know you have a pretty powerful. Yeah, you have a powerful PC.
Just PS5.
Yeah. And I think that's the big thing. So Ted and I talked about via text message a while ago. I think after the conference, I texted you like right away. And I was like, "What'd you think?"
Yeah.
And you made a great point that I didn't really think about. And I think it's important to talk about. We've talked a lot about Game Pass, and you said Xbox is basically making Netflix. Like they are making the stay-at-home streaming service.
Yeah.
And Sony is the big blockbuster movies. They are the ones that you go out, you pay your money to go see, instead of just your annual thing. And I was like, that's so true. Like when I look at it, it's like, oh, I'm stoked to like try out Halo. I'm stoked to like try out this, blah, blah, blah. And then like, oh, I'm looking forward to the next Horizon game. Like that's a big tent pole.
Sony is selling you a movie theater with trailers, and then you spend your money, you buy popcorn, you sit down, you enjoy the experience. Xbox is selling you the home movie night where you and your friends sit down on the couch, dick around, you laugh and talk through the they're selling you two different experiences right now.
And I think that's super fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the pivot. You know,
Well,
it's not just two movie theaters going at it.
And we saw that at the beginning of the last console launch, with Xbox One being your entertainment center. It is the epicenter of everything that you do in your living room. It even listens to you talk and changes stuff. That's why it's more expensive. And then Sony literally just looked at them and they said, idiots, it's all about the games. We just want you to play games and have fun. Do you remember the sharing games thing on Xbox, which is the coolest E3 moment ever? They announced Xbox was like, hey, you can't share games on Xbox. You're going to get the disc. You're also going to get a code. The code, like PC used to do, the code unlocks the game on your console, and the disc is just there to like check it. And that's how you share games.
Good old-fashioned DRM, am I right?
And then Sony on the E3 stage went, how do you share a game? And two people walked out. One had a disc, or one had this case, handed it to the next guy and said, we just shared games. And it's like, that's what they did. And they just ate their lunch on every turn. I mean, it was the coolest E3 thing to watch. It was like they watched Microsoft's E3 and said, every place we can undercut them. And we did.
Yeah.
And that's how they won. I mean, they won insane. This generation is just mind-boggling how much Sony has sold. And then that Microsoft has not talked about how much they sold. So you know that.
No.
I'm really interested to see how this generation turns out and if this strategy works for Xbox. But I don't see it overtaking Sony. Like, I think this is going to be like we're an equilateral, not one's going to win over the other. That's why I don't think there's really a console war anymore after this.
Yeah. Well, they're both trying to get ingrained into the culture. They want kids to talk about this on the playground. And Xbox is basically just handing it out to kids, to people in general. They're just saying, here, it's free. Just, they're being as gateway drug as they can about it. So we'll see. There might just be that people are talking about Xbox because everyone has an Xbox product, and eventually it takes over simply because everyone can play Halo. We're going to go play Halo. You want to come?
That's true. It's interesting. It's fascinating.
Yeah, to me, PlayStation has these great like single player experiences, but when I think multiplayer, like I don't really think PlayStation.
Totally.
Maybe just Call of Duty, but
I
think Halo. Like, like Halo, Gears, like all these like multiplayer games that are just.
That's because none of Sony's first party games are multiplayer. They are focused on the single player
campaign.
None of them.
Well, I'm sure there is
like a zero.
There's probably one or two thrown in, but like
I mean, Last of Us 2 didn't have multiplayer.
Last of Us 2 didn't
you might be right.
3 of the best games this year that are PlayStation 5, are PlayStation 4 exclusives are single player.
Huh.
Yeah.
Wow. Interesting.
So and they've really focused on that. I mean, Bethesda does the same thing, right? Like we're just making single player experiences. And I think that's such a different, interesting pivot than what Microsoft usually does, which is these are kind of games as service, like Sea of Thieves and stuff like that. Like we're making these games to keep you here.
Yeah, what sold me on Game Pass originally, and it looks like they're keeping it up with their third-party exclusivity bonuses or deals, is co-op games with your friends.
Yeah.
Sea of Thieves.
The co-op.
Hey, everyone log in and we're going to have some fun tonight. And that's kind of what they were selling on Game Pass, and that's what sold me. It's just like, let's just stay in and hang out for a night,
Well, and that's James and I found one of our favorite games of the year on Game Pass on a whim, which was that Streets of Rage 4.
Streets of Rage, absolutely amazing co-op experience.
So
wish it was more than 2 players, but still, local co-op is more. So if we ever wanted a local co-op, which is again,
not a.
No, I know, but it's just like, damn, it was great.
Yeah.
Also, Xbox, they're not just keeping it contained to their Microsoft Store, to the Xbox Beta app, to Game Pass. They're selling on Steam.
Yeah.
And they're probably going to be selling on all the other stores out there.
Yeah.
So they're dipping everywhere.
Except the Windows Store. They don't sell things on the Windows Store.
No, but not buy stuff off the Windows Store, please.
Well, and that's the interesting thing that Sony now, Horizon Zero Dawn is coming to PC. It comes in this month.
I love that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
When Sony's exclusives like down the line eventually come to PC, like you're seeing with
I don't know if you get all of them.
Zero Dawn,
Death Stranding.
Death Stranding.
Yeah, Death Stranding's different though because it's not published by Sony on PC. 505 publishes it on Steam.
Same engine though, so that's why it's like using that engine.
Well, and it's the same engine that Horizon Zero Dawn is. That's probably they looked at. Yeah. I'm sure they looked at it. It was compatible. I see what you're saying. I thought you were saying that Death Stranding was the same engine as it was on PS4, and I was like, make a whole new game for it.
They're the same. Both.
That's a lot of work. It's a lot of work for that walking game.
Yep, same engine.
All right, boys. That was our kind of talk on console wars. We'll be talking a lot about it through the next 6 months, I'm sure, as everything happens. Hopefully, we could get new consoles when they launch this, because they're going to be in short supply.
Yeah, I wonder what will sell people. I'm wondering what will sell me personally, because right now I'm very mild, not really feeling anything, I could skip this launch and probably be totally okay.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if there is something, maybe a price tag, maybe a feature, maybe a bundle that's just going to get me right before the holiday season.
You better pre-order right away,
Yeah.
or else
Yeah.
you're not going to get a console.
Oh, the minute
Yeah.
PS5 goes up, I'm punching it.
Yep, you better
Yeah.
pre-order right away because with the way things are going,
I'm hoping there's something else before that pre-order button becomes
Yeah.
available.
There's a few games I'm very excited for on PS5. Like I'm way too excited for Deathloop for no reason other than that game just has like cool style. I could hate it how it plays because I liked Dishonored but not like loved it. But like the way this game plays, I'm like I'm looking at this style and like the quirkiness of it. Like let's go. Now speaking of playing, what have you been playing? Who wants to go first, James?
I'll go first. I told you earlier this week I've been playing some Apex Legends.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you how this game kind of like what happened is the people who played it originally never stopped playing, and they're still playing, and that's all the lobbies are. So if you're trying to come in new to this, you are going in with people who are super experienced and just run and gun you and know the exact strats, and you're always at a disadvantage. So it was kind of jarring, just like, oh, what is this? What does this do? Like, and you're getting like screwed right away.
Is it still
not fun?
Is it still 3 people per team?
Still three people. Like
That's
they just
awesome.
never like caved at all.
That's cool.
To that. So it's solo and threes.
Okay. Wow.
That's it.
Oh, there is a solo. Okay, that's
There
cool.
is solo, but it's way better to just play in teams. Like I would not play BR solo. BR
Do you
solo.
play, is it solo in the same match as threes, or is it everyone's alone?
Everyone's alone.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Huh. I liked the way that game played. Like that.
It's still like the same game. It's just there's a lot of like little like intricacies that like changed with it. Like there's the new maps and stuff like that. And
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Just
they update the
new
map.
little things. Yeah.
Is there still a train on the map? Because that's all I care about.
I think that was the
Can I
second
ride
map.
the train?
The second map had a train. The
Yeah,
first
I don't
map
know.
didn't have
I
a
don't know
train.
what map they're on.
There is a
now.
train. There is a train.
Okay. there you
Perfect.
go.
Yeah, and
Can I
honestly, landing on the train is the best thing ever because you just land on it and then you just run through.
Is
Yeah,
it,
I've seen
And
it.
then sometimes you can miss a train and it's like the horrible worst thing ever. It's like you're trying to aim for the train and you miss it. You're like, oh well,
I
I
don't
guess we're
remember
just
that
gonna
part of
run.
Mission Impossible.
is Apex crossplay yet? I know they announced it. I don't know if it's happened.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I mean, it was
remember.
supposed to come to Steam, and
It's
still
coming.
hasn't come
It's coming to
Steam.
Switch, and it's gonna be crossplay.
Is it really coming to Switch?
Yeah, it's coming to Switch.
Jesus.
All right.
That's crazy.
Maybe.
Yeah, that's interesting that you jumped into
Yeah.
Apex though, because I didn't know if that was your style of game, and you texted me that, and I was like, that's crazy.
Like, yeah, let's
Yeah.
just see how it is.
That's
And
funny.
then played some Ghost of Tsushima, about 8 hours in.
Okay, I want to talk to you about Ghost of
Beautiful.
Tsushima really quick.
Mhm.
Because I beat it. I beat Ghost
Yes,
of
you did
Tsushima.
beat it.
I'm really close to platinuming it, and this is just because it's a game that you just do everything in anyways.
Yep.
What do you think about it 8 hours in?
This is what I think. We have 3 games. So I said 3 games this year that like are like basically game of the year or like in contention. Final Fantasy VII, Last of Us Part 2, and Ghost of Tsushima. They all literally have the best combat possible for their games,
Mhm.
which is insane. And they're all 3 way different combats. But when I think about like how it like plays, it's really smooth.
Yeah.
And it's like, how did they just figure everything out this year?
I know.
Like if I was to have one of the best like turn-based but like real-time fighting, Last of Us literally figured out their whole system and it's so smooth. And Ghost of Tsushima, like goddamn, it's like I'm playing like Batman Arkham Knights, but I'm using a sword and it's so smooth. And
yeah.
the way like it interplays with the environment. And to me, environment like pretty barren, not a lot going on, but it's beautiful and you're just running through and it's just like, oh, I just love like looking at it. And the wind mechanic is amazing. Like to go to your stuff, it's just
So.
oh wait, actually, what are you playing? Did you play English?
Yes, I played English.
Well, I played
playing
Japanese with subtitles.
Okay, so
That's awesome.
I did a mission in Japanese. It really bothered me that their mouths don't sync.
So the syncing is off because it was made for English.
Yeah, it's not Japanese, so it's like. Blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. I'm like, stop!
Rap,
Like,
rap, rap.
and like,
I saw a Twitter post that said it should be the other way, where
Yeah.
the English link is off, just like
Totally.
the old
Why should it be the other way if it's
Great.
not
Also,
a
if it's-
Japanese studio?
if it's mapping, why? I don't know. It doesn't matter.
It would be a lot of work. That's
it
why.
would be a
But
lot of work.
but
I-
anyways, the Japanese voice actor for the main character for Jin
Mhm.
is the voice actor for Roronoa Zoro from One Piece.
Oh, interesting.
So the One Piece. So it's like I'm watching it. The actual samurai swordsman from One Piece
Piece.
is the samurai
That's
swordsman.
cool.
It's pretty good.
I really like Ghost of Tsushima. I think Ghost of Tsushima is a really good game that is just not great. In my opinion. I mean, just from playing it, I think the world is like beautiful and all the scenery. Like, there are times that's the sun is setting in the trees. I'm like, this is the most beautiful game.
It's a beautiful world.
There is
It's a
also
beautiful game.
nothing cooler than the duels in those games and how he flicks his
duels are
sword
fun.
out. Ted, look up how the duels happen. It is
Yes.
so dope. He's like holding his sword and he moves his thumb and just and like knocks his like handle of his sword a little bit out of his hilt, and it's like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen.
The standoffs are fun too.
And the standoffs are great. I think like a lot of the mechanics are really good. I think the mission design is super repetitive. So like you'll get there later on where like every mission is like either you find somebody, you follow their tracks, and you just kill a bunch of people. And that's like every mission. And then it's like keeps like, we gotta follow these people's tracks. And you like look at the ground and just like run with the ground to like follow the tracks. I'm like, this is not what I want to be doing in this game.
So you don't like the Witcher style?
No, and like
You're following tracks.
I don't like a open world game that just keeps repeating itself, but also taking itself very seriously. So like, I think Ghost of Tsushima's biggest problem, where Assassin's Creed Odyssey kind of worked, was Odyssey was like really stupid and like, we are a video game and we know it. Like,
it was huge.
It was massive, and it was like, hey, we got like an ability where there's no fall damage. We just get that you can jump off a mountain and you're fine because it's a video game, and that's fine and that's fun. Ghost of Tsushima is like, we are a samurai movie, which is really cool, but then like do stuff that's more interesting than just follow these tracks. Ooh, it looks like he went this way. Follow these tracks. Like, I don't like the structure of it. Yeah,
it's the argument the Outer Worlds had. Yes. Right? We want a linear experience. We want a directed experience versus just a open giant playground. You know, if you're going to give me a playground, let me be stupid in it.
Yeah, rather than the.
If you want to sell me a realistic samurai experience, just, you know.
I think that's a great like thing, and I still like Ghost of Tsushima a lot. I think there's some really amazing things done. The transition of being a ghost, like being a samurai to the ghost.
You're a ghost?
Yeah. But like becoming the Ghost of Tsushima and like how that interweaves with the story. I think the main story is awesome. It's a great samurai movie. I just think there's things here and there that kind of like deter me a little bit.
Gotcha.
I also think the open world is not as great as I want it to be. Like, it's got the thing that I think that's really cool. Like, nature tells you where to go, which is super cool, and like the smokestacks. But then like you're up high on a mountain and you see a smokestack. You're like, I want to go there because I think there's something cool over there. And instead of doing the Breath of the Wild thing where you just like leap off and use like a paraglider, because like that's like, hey, I'm gonna go there. You gotta like walk down the mountain, and then you're like,
you gotta actually be a human.
Where was I looking? Like, I don't know where it was on the map, and like it's really hard to like mark something on the map. I almost wish there was like a zoom finder, and then you could ping something like in Breath of the Wild, because that would make
you mean a telescope?
That's what it is. Yeah, zoom finder.
I mean, can you just look at your map and then ping it on your map?
Yeah, but you don't know the range.
Or can you only ping?
You can ping, but like if you're looking over there and then you go into your map, it just pops up and you're like, I don't really know the range.
Doesn't translate.
That's like my kind of issue. But I think like the combat's awesome. Nothing's cooler than walking into a camp and just yelling at the Mongols and being like, hey, let's fight. And like you're doing the standoff thing. It's so cool.
Oh, I do have one complaint so far.
Yeah.
The voice lines. There's not too many enemy voice lines, and they keep repeating them over and over again. That's like what they was like,
all
why?
the time.
Yeah, it sounds like it suffers from a lot of open world problems.
The bowmen have the exact same line every single time.
Every time. And that
but luckily it's in Japanese, so I don't care. So
see, that's cool. In English, it was a little annoying.
He's like,
and I think that is kind of it's the open worldiness of it takes away from the game to me. Like, I don't think they use the open world enough. Like, because everything is cool in it. Like, you do the haikus are interesting. The reflecting while you like get more XP or more health, and like that stuff is cool. But I don't know if I like the open world style of it. Is just kind of it's like too open.
It is too open. Yeah. That's what I was like, man, there's just a lot of nature. It's beautiful, but like there's nothing there. So.
And if I gotta follow another freaking fox, man, like it was so cool in the beginning, and then 49 times in, I'm like, I'm done. I don't even know what it's doing for me anymore. I'm just doing it. Because like it's like your charm upgraded, and I'm like, but which one upgraded? I don't understand. So that's like little weird things for me about it. But I think it's a great game. It's still really fun. I would recommend it.
It's just fun to fight.
That's totally.
But I can see how it gets like.
It just gets repetitive.
There's like. Yeah, it'll get repetitive.
Yeah, especially if you do a lot of the other side quests before mainlining it. Like, I really started liking it again when I started to mainline it. Like, when I got to like the second or third area, I was like, I'm just doing the story because I just want to see it.
Yeah, I've been doing mostly side quests, and they've been okay. Like, just like get some like training stuff.
Yeah.
But you're right. There's just like follow these tracks, kill this one Mongol village.
Yeah, and the intro side quests give you a lot of equipment, which is really good.
Yes, that's what I been wanting to get geared up.
Anything else you've been playing, James?
That's basically it. Oh, you did.
I'm writing on James's follows foxes.
I know. I read it. I didn't want to say it out loud.
I like it.
Yeah. So I have been digging into a game that is not my wheelhouse, but there's a story behind it. I have been playing San Diego Studios MLB The Show 20.
What the fuck? I thought that was a joke.
No, the Raid Shadow Legends.
The Raid Shadow Legends was the joke.
It's actually MLB The Show 20. For backstory, my wonderful father and I, for this quarantine/lockdown thing, have been so he's really into fantasy baseball, and his fantasy baseball group obviously can't do their thing this year, so they have transitioned to a game called Stratomatic Baseball, which is Dungeons and Dragons, but for baseball stats. It is 100%. I am rolling a D20 with my dad to see if I hit a home run.
Yep.
It is ridiculous, but my dad knows a lot about baseball and is destroying me.
Nice.
He's basically playing both players and just kind of giving me tips. He's like, "Oh, you should really play the infield in." I'm like, "I don't know what that means." So I figured that I'm going to use my millennial technology to beat him, and I bought on the PlayStation Summer Sale MLB The Show 20 in the hopes of learning how to play baseball.
How much was it on the sale?
It was $29-$30.
Oh, it's not bad at all. Okay.
No,
not at all. It's a good sale going on, by the way, right now.
Yeah.
On PlayStation.
Yeah. Boy, does this game not teach you a thing about baseball. I went into it kind of just basically looking for a tutorial and then maybe like some tool tips after that. Nothing. No. Oh my God. The first thing it says is like, how do you want to play the game? And it gives you 12 different options on play style and like ways of hitting and pitching. And I was like, all right.
I just want to press X.
Yeah, exactly. So I immediately had to go to YouTube and watch a lot of videos, which are all had Raid Shadow Legends ads. Hence the callback.
Oh, that's
okay. Yeah, but I was watching a lot of videos, a lot of people just explaining mechanics of the game, which is just, it gets deep.
Oh yeah, sports games are deep.
Yeah, and it's really cool. I also bought it because it's really interesting that this is probably hopefully the only sports game where the real season it's simulating doesn't actually happen.
Right?
Yeah, and because
it's 162 games in the.
Yeah, well, a lot of these games follow the real season as it's happening and give you live stats updates, and you can play the simulated versions just like what's happening in real life, except this year. So I was like, oh, I might as well buy the 1 year that sports didn't actually happen, which is really interesting.
That's fascinating, but like Madden's going to come out, and there isn't going to be a football season. Like that's crazy to me.
Yeah. Well, I think it's really cool. I mean, every sports game I've ever played, it's like, all right, what year is this? What team won? All right, I'll play that team.
Yeah.
You know? And this is the first year you can't really do that.
I know.
So I was checking it out. That game is it's very not persuasive. It's trying to funnel you into their multiplayer system.
Yes.
Which is, I think, gambling.
It's like the card mode, right? Where you get like an ultimate team.
Yeah. So I guess a lot of these sports games are doing this, but this one's very blatant. You
haven't played FIFA.
Multiplayer, you build a custom team basically using loot boxes and card packs, which you buy for real money. But it is a step deeper. I was expecting baseball cards with players, but it is also statistics based on your shoes and your bat type.
Oh, really?
And helmets. There are cosmetics. There's like armor. There's loot for your players. Yeah, and I can kind of get it because I've been playing single player just to kind of visualize what's happening in baseball, just to understand it. And the computer does kind of suck. Like it's clearly like the tutorial kicks the crap out of you until the very end when you just hit home runs at the ninth inning, and you're like, oh, you're letting me win at the end. Thank you. So multiplayer is definitely where you can actually, have pitching duels and kind of get in someone's head. But boy, does that loot box system just suck, and they are persistent.
That's FIFA. Every time you complete like a game, it like does a pop-up ad.
Yeah, well, so they've also added a marketplace, right? So the first thing that happened right after I bought the game, and it told me I had to delete every other game on my PlayStation 4.
Welcome to having a base PS4.
Yeah. It's also, that thing sounds like a jet engine. People are not lying on the forums when they talk about that. I was like, oh, you've gotten one free loot package. Do you want to open it? I said, yes. And I got a pair of shoes. I got a pair of Nike Foam Elite V2s or
Ooh,
something
I
like
heard those
that.
are
Yeah,
really
branding.
good. Those are
Yeah.
really good. Those help with your kicking stats.
Yeah. Well, and the two options were: do you want to equip this to your custom team, or do you want to sell it on our in-game marketplace?
That's
And
awesome.
there's a whole, in-game marketplace about buying and reselling players and cards, not like in-season trades, but like a Steam marketplace. Like they are trying to get more money out of people via an in-game marketplace,
That's
and
crazy.
it is insane.
Huh.
And it's insane how deep some people on the internet are getting into this kind of thing of like
Oh yeah.
buying into this loot box system, and they'll spend, I'm guessing, a lot of money for that perfect statistical team
People love
to
that
try and
shit.
win, the esports.
Yeah. Wow.
But
Would
yeah,
not have
in short,
expected that.
haven't learned much about baseball. I've learned a lot about the economy, apparently, and this in-game industry,
I'm learning
but not a lot about baseball. I
economy.
still don't know what a slider is.
Oh my!
I don't
A
wanna talk
slider
about it.
is an opposite of a cutter. Goes
Yes.
the
Okay,
other way.
Yeah, okay. What's a
So,
four-seam fastball versus a two-seam fastball?
two-seam fastball will have more drop in it.
Uh-huh.
Four-seam would be like a bullet.
I can't tell if you're making this up.
I swear, no, I know baseball. A cutter usually goes to the right. Sliders go to the left.
Yep.
Curveball obviously drops down. Knuckle curve will have more like wild movement.
Yeah.
I got you. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah. We'll
Sorry,
talk.
this is kind of on topic, but off topic.
Yeah.
But Jake, did you see the Dodgers game with their new pitcher that was throwing like
Oh,
hundreds?
yeah,
like,
yeah.
like nothing.
That was
Like
insane.
it's like boop boop, and
Yeah.
he had like, and he was switching up right away and throw like an 80. Like
Yeah,
and
his
and then, like,
changeup was insane. I was the guy
and it
that
was
he
the
released
same
it.
pitch.
Yeah, he
It
released
was
it
like
in the same area.
They interlaced it, and it was like,
Yeah.
here's the pitch, and then it like.
Dude, that's so crazy. I couldn't imagine. This is not a gaming thing, but I couldn't imagine being a baseball player trying to hit a 90-mile-an-hour fastball because you have like less than a second to decide if you're going to swing. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Also, like to know the difference between like this is 100 miles
That's why
gonna be, or this is 80.
it's where the release
They
is.
simulate that part in the game really well because
Yeah, I know. I'm terrible at
always just
swinging.
like, I guess I'm gonna swing because I don't know.
That's why I can't play baseball games anymore because I
Nope.
can't hit
Yeah.
anything. The only thing that I have been playing other than Ghost of Tsushima is not a video game, but it is a board game.
Yes.
I've been
Board
playing
games.
the fuck out of Gloomhaven. I bought
Ooh.
Jaws of the Lion, the little the like new expansion pack of it, not expansion, like standalone like tutorial version. And then I was like, I really like this. I'm gonna buy the big box, and the big box is a 20-pound box of board game in it.
Wow,
And
so about
it is-
$35 US. Sorry, I made that joke
I wish.
yesterday.
It's really fun. It's a big like RPG game where you play like a party going through stuff and
Okay.
leveling up your stats.
So this is a true story. The only time anyone has ever explained Gloomhaven, because my roommate owns it, but he's never really brought it down from his room.
Ted, I can't deal. You look like an old dad using FaceTime.
Shut up. I'm leaning in because I'm into it.
Here.
I overheard a conversation between two people outside of a parking lot in a Target, and one of them explained Gloomhaven as a tabletop version of Diablo.
Yes.
Does that sound right?
Yeah. So yes, that's actually like so accurate. It is I kind of explain it as a very guided Dungeons and Dragons about basically like guided combat. So it's not like, what are you gonna do? You have like a hand of cards and you're like putting two cards down and that's like your move, and you get to like interlace different abilities together, and you're trying to like basically clear out rooms. And I'm playing it by myself. So I've been playing Jaws of the Lion, the little expansion pack, with some of my friends, and then I bought Gloomhaven. I was like, I'm just gonna play this by myself for a while, and it is super fun. It is like a board game Diablo. It's awesome.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, you get to
Is
name.
there's loot, I'm guessing?
Yes, there's
Or
loot.
is
There's abilities. There's leveling up. There's perks. Each character can level up and get perks. Which you have like a modifier deck that like adds like +1 or -1 to your attacks, and you can change like what cards go into that deck via like the check marks of like perks. It's really freaking fun. There's 4 characters in Jaws of the Lion, and there's 4 people can play the game. In the original Gloomhaven, there's 6 starting characters for 4 people to choose from, and 11 unlockable characters. So there's 17 characters in Gloomhaven. And it is absurd, and it is so fun. It is so nerdy. It literally took me 2 hours to unpack the stuff out of the box.
Yeah, now we're talking.
Yeah. The Jaws of the Lion comes with an instruction booklet on how to unpack it.
Okay, that's
It's so nerdy. It's so fucking fun, dude. I'm in love with it. So that's right now. That's what I've been playing. A lot of Gloomhaven on the tabletop.
Yeah.
So makes me wish I could play with a bunch of people. And I think there is a game on Steam that's like the original game.
I was gonna say I believe there is a Gloomhaven, something,
Yeah.
a Gloomhaven on the internet or on
And I think
virtual.
it's a virtualized rendition of the board game that like sticks to the same rules and everything. So
That's cool.
it's really cool. And then I bought an iPad app that makes the game go a lot quicker because it keeps a lot of the stats on the app rather than like dials and stuff. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's super fun.
Sounds awesome.
Super great. I'm gonna be playing a lot of that today.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was the Sidescape Gaming Podcast, episode 30, with Ted's first show as an official host, because he was a guest host last time, and James St. Charles, my partner in crime. Thank you so much for watching the first 30 episodes of this podcast. We will be back with another 30. See you later.